ready to go. Thank you.
All right. Well, hopefully everyone can hear me. I apologize. I wasn't able to make it in person. I intended to, but I ended up having something I had to do with my regular job. So I apologize. But I'd like to call our meeting to order. Our Active Transportation Committee meeting. I'm Mayor Troy Walker, chair of the committee, and we've got a good sized agenda today. So let's jump to it. First thing we need is an action item approval of the February 11th, 2025 meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
All right, got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor of approval of the February 11th, 2025 minutes, say aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? All right, those meeting minutes have passed. All right, that takes us to item number 2, which
Hey,
is
Mayor, before we do that, do you mind if we do a roll call and just announce everybody in the room and online before we jump to 2?
Yeah, I'll start off. Mayor Troy Walker, Draper City. Go ahead. Whoever's next. You want to go from you to the right, or I see
Yeah,
Gruber.
we'll start with Rosie in the corner and come around the table, Mayor, if that's okay.
Go however you want to do it.
Rosie
Go ahead.
Hernandez. Rosie Hernandez, Wasatch Front Regional Council.
Jordan Chandler, WFRC.
Kate Wright, UDOT Trails Division. Stephanie Tomlin, UDOT Trails Division.
Dory Johnner, Long Range Plan Group, WFRC.
Calvin Clark, Mountain Land Association of Government Staff.
Carla Merrill, Alpine City Mayor, representing MAG.
Jared Bowling, UDOT Planning.
Good morning, Andrew Gruber with WFRC.
Hugh Van Wagen with WFRC.
Ed Knowlton, Deputy WFRC.
Dave Graff, Ogden City Council.
David Mitchell, Davis County.
Miranda Jones Cox, WFRC Government Affairs.
Ivan Hooper, Sandy City.
Tim Watkins, WFRC.
Chrissy Dahlberg, WFRC.
Marsha White, WFRC.
Byron Head, WFRC.
John Nichols, Parametrics.
John A. Nardone, WFRC.
Matt Ryan, WFRC.
Madison Aviles, WFRC.
Do we want to start online? Is that everyone in the room?
Yes, to everyone in the room. We're going to ask Jordan to call out 3 people at a time online, and then you all can hopefully turn your cameras on and say hello online.
Okay, so we'll start with Mayor Phippen and then Lauren Victor and Brett McKiff. Mayor Phippen, do you want to start? Okay, Lauren, do you want to start?
Yeah, Lauren Victor, Long Range Planning at WFRC.
I'm Brett McKiff. I'm at the Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay, and then we'll go Kathleen Von Hatten, Isaac Hyam, and David Rogers.
Kathleen Von Hatten, Lake Point City Council.
Isaac Hyam, Salt Lake County Council staff.
David Rogers, Murray City.
Thank you. We'll go Mark Bradley, Mayor Gettle, and Wendelin Knobloch.
Mark Bradley, Brigham City, glad to be with you.
Oh, sorry. Dustin Gettle, Midvale City.
Wendelin Knobloch, Midvale City.
Thank you. Mayor Mon, Morgan Haddon, and Suzanne Harrison.
Mayor Dave Mon, Syracuse City.
Morgan Haddon, Get Healthy, Utah.
Suzanne Harrison, Salt Lake County Council.
Okay, and then we'll go Travis iPhone, Julie Williams, and Becca Rolfe.
So I'm Mayor Travis Moat from Willard City.
I'm Julie Williams from the Jordan River Commission.
Becca Rolfe, Salt Lake City Transportation.
Thank you. Mayor Fippen, do you want to introduce yourself? Mayor Petro, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, sorry. Mayor Petro, Layton City.
Okay, I believe that's everybody.
Mayor Fippen. Mayor Fippen, we see you. Can you hear us? All right, I'll reach out to Mayor Fippen. Hey, Mayor Walker, I just want
Yes.
everybody to note that everybody who's online with a virtual meeting, please feel free to fully participate. We'll keep an eye, just speak up, raise your hand physically or virtually, and we'll keep an eye on you. We want you to know that you can fully participate whether you're online or in the room. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here. We have the best committee amongst all of the committees, I think. So we're glad to have all of you. So the next item is the chair report. And it's really going to just be about the upcoming event for Bike Month, which is our Golden Spoke ride. I hope everyone's familiar with the Golden Spoke. Over the years, it had a lot of different iterations of how far the ride was going to be. One year we went Ogden to Provo. We're not doing that this year. So this year, the ride at its maximum is a 53-mile route. It starts at the Tracy Aviary in Salt Lake City along the Jordan River Trail. Hugh's got the map up. And then it goes along that trail for at the terminus. It's a total of 53 miles. And so it ends down in Provo at the Provo River Delta. So if you want to participate and ride the whole 53 miles, I certainly encourage you to. You're welcome to do it. We have some other routes and starting points along the way. Hugh, did you get the slide from Kelly from what we're doing in Draper?
Sorry, Mayor, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. You can start at Tracy Avery. You could start, Hugh, put the Rotary Park right there. That's another starting point. That's in Draper. That's where our starting point will be. I turn my mayor's bike ride into this ride every year. So this year we're going to go from the Rotary Park down to the Bull River Trailhead, and then we're going to make a loop back towards Draper Park. From there, we're going to go back on Porter Rockwell Trail, kind of following that arrow back to our main park in Draper. And that ultimately is a 22-mile ride, if that's something you wanted to do, as opposed to it'll all be on the trail, so it's all safe and free of cars. You also get to go over the cool bridge over what I call the Alpine Highway. I know it's not called that anymore, but that's what I'm calling it. And that's a great loop. But if you want to go the whole way, and those stops will have water, snacks, Bull River. So keep going, Hugh. And then if you haven't been on the Murdoch Canal Trail, which this trail is right from from Bull River to the Orem spot, it's probably one of the coolest pieces of infrastructure built in a long time in Utah. It's fantastic. Great trail, fun to ride, split, between walkers or runners and bikers. It's amazing. From Palisade Park, it's a new trail that I have not been on. Hugh, what's the name of it again?
Part of the Provo River Parkway Trail.
Okay, so that'll be a new segment. And then you can see it makes kind of a right turn at Skipper Bay Trailhead. I'm assuming, how close is that to Front Runner, Hugh? If people wanted to ride back somewhere on Front Runner, is that?
Mile and a half, 2 miles maybe.
And you'll get a Front Runner pass as part of the Golden Spoke. So if you wanted to start up in Salt Lake, you could certainly take your bike on Front Runner to get home, or however you want to do it. But we encourage as many of you as you can to come out and ride with us on it. It's a nice leisurely pace. It's fun. If, like I say, you got varying distances that you could do. If you wanted to do the one we're doing with Draper, it would be only 22 miles. Now, if you are really want to put in some miles, you could most definitely start in Ogden. I know we got an Ogden council member there. You could start right up there in Ogden and ride all the way down. That probably makes it almost 100 miles. So if any of you are really committed to the Golden Spoke, then there's your opportunity.
Council member Graff, you did it yesterday. He was just telling me, Mayor Walker, he rode this yesterday just as a test case.
Oh, very well. Did you ride all the way to Provo?
No, we stopped for lunch and then took the front runner back to Ogden.
Yeah,
Here in
that's
Salt Lake. So we
fantastic.
made it to Salt Lake City. It was 40 miles.
That's awesome. And that's a great segment of trail too. I've done that a few times myself. And it's, again, we have amazing trail infrastructure, as you all know, but when you get out on it, you really get to appreciate how fantastic it is, because there are so few places, that have this kind of paved trail system that's got the views and the, just the opportunity we have. It's really quite amazing. Remember, this event is free. You just need to register. We'd like to get a head count so they can plan on the snacks. You'll get a $10 voucher that goes toward food and drink at the end of the ride event. And a UTA transit pass will be available if you register, so you can get to and from the starting points or back home, however you want to go. Does anybody have any questions about the Golden Spoke, what it means? Hopefully, any questions, comments?
Mayor Walker,
All
I'll
right,
just
well,
note, hey, Mayor, Hugh and I were just talking, if there's any communities that are along the route that want to promote this in their community, kind of, Mayor Walker, like you're doing, sharing info about it, we would be happy, and I'm sure Mag would as well, to provide you with some info, some social media content. If you want to promote any of this within your community, just let the folks at WFRC or Mag know, and we're happy to support you in doing that with your outreach to your communities.
Yeah, we've tried to incorporate it as part of my mayor's ride, and it's grown every year. Like, we started out with 5 or 6. Last year we had about 30 people, and I expect hopefully the weather will be good. But yeah, we'll be happy to promote it. You could join at any spot on the trail and meet up. It's really open, and there's easy access points to that Jordan River Trail all along the many communities that it bisects. So just let Andrew know. That's great. Thank you. Any other comments or questions about the Golden Spoke? Again, it's one event you could do to celebrate Bike Month, which is May, but there are many other events. If any of you have mayor's rides or community rides you're doing, I think send some information into WFRC so we could get it out. Maybe some of us like to come participate in some of your stuff. So if you're doing other stuff, please share it with Andrew so we could get some participation in everybody's events. Other than that, have a great Bike Month in May. Should be fantastic.
And just a reminder, the Golden Spoke ride is Saturday, May 10th. Thanks, Mayor.
All right. We'll look forward to seeing as many of you. We need to get Nadowski on a bike, so get him down there from Ogden.
We'll work on him.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
maybe
sure he knows how to ride a bike.
have him ride from Ogden down to the Tracy Aviary. That'd be good for him.
That would be good for him. Thank you.
This is Mayor Petro. I'll add that, tell Mayor Nadowski that he can use an e-bike.
Oh, and Mayor, that's a great point. E-bikes are totally allowed as well. There's no restriction on the trail ride. So if you want to ride an e-bike, and if you have them, come out and ride them. It's every type of bike's available is allowed on the trail. All right. Item 3 is public comment. Is there anyone online or in the room that would like to start off with public comment? Let me just give you the rules. You get 3 minutes to make public comment. You don't have to use them all, but you can. But at the end of 3 minutes, your turn will be over. So is there anyone that would like to make a general public comment to the council? All right. I don't see anybody clamoring to make public comment. Do you online?
Nope, not seeing anybody online raising their hand, although we're looking. Nope, it looks like no, sir.
In many public meetings, I've considered that a good sign, but I guess we'll take it that way on this one as well. All right, so we'll close public comment, go to item number 4, which is a Utah Trail Network, the program projects update. Who's taking that, Hugh? Is that the
Stephanie Tomlin.
Okay, go ahead on item number 4. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Stephanie Tomlin with UDOT, Utah Department of Transportation, Trails Division Director. Super excited to be here, give an update on the 2024 programmed projects for the Utah Trail Network. I'll just take 2 minutes to quickly update on what the Utah Trail Network is, or the UTN we refer to it as. So this is the initiative, the governor's initiative back in 2023-ish to build out a statewide paved trail network. So, connect communities via a safe and comfortable active transportation network. It was really thanks to everyone in this room, including many others across the state, that really helped, usher this moment in, so to speak, on having ongoing state funding to the tune of $45 million a year. Ongoing, which is huge. So with that, again, a reminder, the Utah Department of Transportation was asked to oversee this new program. So we've developed the Trails Division over the last year and a half, and then we had to hit the ground sprinting to get the ball rolling on projects, to put that first 45 million plus 45 million of one-time funding to use right away. So as a reminder, we worked with all the communities across the state. We developed a list of projects that were shovel ready. And if they weren't shovel ready, but they met our guiding principles of what the UTN is supposed to achieve, we considered a couple of those projects for feasibility studies. So that list that we developed was over around 160 project ideas. We, of course, had to whittle that list down. As much as I would like to say 90 million would pay for all of them, it won't even close. So we had to whittle that list down to around 43 projects. And it was those 43 projects that we then ran through our prioritization model, and we were able to fund 19. So 19 projects across the state for a total price tag of 95 million. You might wonder, why 95 if 45 plus 45 equals 90? Well, so because we picked up projects that were more shovel ready, often communities already had funding encumbered to the project. So think of it as like a local contribution. This program does not require a match, but again, since they already had funding allocated, it made it so our money could go even further. So we took those 19 projects, 14 of which are construction projects, and then the other 5 are feasibility studies. So those feasibility studies, and I'll go through them, but the feasibility studies are projects that, again, really met that guiding principle of, our guiding principles of, these are connecting people to their destinations within the community, but they perhaps had a little bit of like work that needed to be done. Like we needed to understand where the terminus of it was, or it maybe had some right-of-way issues that we needed to evaluate first. So we funded those for a feasibility study to make sure that they were kind of construction ready. A quick reminder, with our program, we do not have the power of eminent domain. So we have to work with willing sellers to construct these trail projects. So that's another consideration, especially when we think about those construction ready projects. Again, another reason why a feasibility project is really worth the funding, so that we can understand if a project is in fact ready to go. Any questions, I guess, about, so all of that happened we programmed those 19 projects in May of 2024. So we're going on about a year that we've, had these projects and gotten them going. My next thing I'm going to talk about is quickly the projects themselves. But before I jump into the projects, is there any questions about kind of UTN and how we programmed those first projects? Andrew.
Steph, a question. You talked about the programming and how terminology programming is when the Transportation Commission actually takes real funding and allocates it to a specific project.
Yep.
And you noted that it's $45 million per year ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you did initial programming for $92 million in May of 24.
Yep.
What is the future anticipated programming schedule for the future money?
Yeah. So if you're not aware, UDOT operates on our funding kind of cycle. We program to that point. We fund projects during the March and the May Transportation Commission meetings. So we did not program new projects this past March and the upcoming commission meeting in May. The reason for that is we had to kind of do this first approach. The idea was get this funding to work right away. But we didn't have a full master plan as to where the Utah Trail Network is. So we funded, think of it as like we funded those projects, but now we're actually going back and we're doing a full, incredibly comprehensive statewide plan for where the Utah Trail Network is. If any of you were able to participate in some of the stakeholder workshops we did this past winter, that was all in kind of preparation and ongoing work as part of this master plan. So we decided we're not programming again until that master plan is done, which will be for the next programming cycle. So almost this time next year, we'll be programming more projects. And we're going to work to get it on the same schedule that UDOT has for other programs, which is usually current year plus several more years into the future. So you can imagine we'll program a project for 2029, let's say, or 2027. That's consistent with how UDOT operates for other ones of its programs, but it'll be off of that huge statewide map. So again, we'll have that master plan established. Good question. Okay, so let's jump in then into the projects that we funded for, again, in 2024. Just for the sake of time, I probably am not going to do every single one across the state. So if you have a question about one that's a different one that I don't touch on, you're welcome to come up to me after and we can talk about it. Oh, it's just that I'm using, yes. Well, no, I think it's all right. Here we go. Okay, so the ones that we programmed in I'll start in the Salt Lake area, like Salt Lake County, and then I'll do the MAG area as well. So anything that you see on here that has a pink highlight, those are projects that we funded for construction. If you see a project with an orange highlight, that's a project that we funded for a feasibility study. This is all available. I'm just on our website. That's why I wanted to use this as opposed to slides to keep reinforcing our website is up to date at all times, has information on these projects. We really work hard to make sure that we have this information available. So utahtrailnetwork.udot.utah.gov. And I'm sure that we can add that in the notes after the meeting. Okay.
Stephanie, can you highlight the northern area too?
Yeah,
Davis,
absolutely.
Weber,
Sorry,
Box
yes,
Elder.
yes, that's a good point. Yep. So let's start up here. So I'm trying to see, sorry, Logan, but we did fund for construction the Blacksmith Fork River Trail connecting from a high school to a soccer park. We funded another section of the Bear River, the Bear Lake Trail. So then I guess going a little bit, just now moving south, 2 projects in the Ogden area. We funded the Three Gates Trail. So this has to do with the Hill Air Force Base. So you can see this is highlighted in orange. So we funded this for a feasibility study. This just got underway. A consultant was selected and we're beginning to get going on this project. This is a connection here in Clinton, connecting over SR 108. This is funded for construction. So this will be a grade separated crossing of SR 108. How we're working on this project is actually in conjunction with a widening that's occurring on SR 108. This is a great project. It'll connect to an elementary school and to a high school. But the overpass or the underpass is this pink line that you see right here. Interject as I go if you have questions. What you're seeing in green, those are existing regional trails. If a project is blue, that means that it was evaluated in our prioritization model, but it was not selected for funding. We're not throwing any of these projects away, they'll be considered in future years, but they just weren't selected for the first round of funding. Okay, now stepping into the Salt Lake County area. This project here is 3900 South. There's been a lot of work that's been done on 3900 South, thanks to a lot of people in this room. So we were able to fund the section from the Jordan River Parkway Trail to West Temple for construction. So the consultant has been selected for final and it's working through final design right now. Okay, these are 2 sections of the Bingham Creek Trail. again, both of which were funded for construction. The reason there's a gap, as you can see, there's actually already an existing trail through the regional park there. Both these sections are moving. One section, we're just working through negotiations with the consulting firm, but the other is moving along. So both of those, again, are in the works. This is the Welby Jacobs, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, so Welby Jacobs also has a designer on board, and we're working through construction, or yeah, the final design into construction. This little project here is a really great, this is in Bluffdale. This is connecting across a railroad to make a connection to the Jordan River Parkway Trail. We emphasized in our first round of funding, not only construction ready, but projects that were maybe going to fill an important gap. A gap exists often in the AT network at this point because it's hard. And so we didn't want to shy away from difficult projects. So this will have to make a grade separation over the rail line, which is no small feat because that's UP, Union Pacific. But so we'll be making a connection across to the Jordan River Parkway Trail once that bridge is in place. Okay. So those were the projects funded kind of in the Salt Lake area. Moving down to MAG, same exact thing applies here with projects that are pink were funded for construction. So this is Vineyard Connector. This one also has a designer on board, or sorry, selection is occurring right now for Vineyard Connector Trail. Great project, making a connection from the existing trail down to the Utah Lakeshore Trail. So again, another example of a gap filling. I know this is a little outside of this area, but I think this is an important project, and it's important to highlight in terms of regional connectivity. So here we have Provo Canyon. We obviously have the Provo River Trail. We funded the Deer Creek Reservoir Trail for a feasibility study here to understand there is already a trail here, but it's unpaved. So we need to understand, and there's multiple uses that are happening here, including equestrian. So we did a feasibility study to understand what the implications would be to pave this trail. So that one, designer or planning firm has been selected, and we're just in negotiation. Heber Valley, you can see the two sections of pink here that were funded. This one's actually, I think out of all of our projects, the fastest moving. We might be advertising for construction as early as either this fall or into the winter. So this is exciting. We could be under construction on this one next year. The center piece in the middle there is a gap because there's some wetlands that we gotta work through environmental kind of in that middle section. But I just wanted to point out that this is, I think I'm just too far away from you. If you look at this regional route that we're starting to create, Provo River is still in litigation, unfortunately, this section here, but ideally once it's not and that gets constructed, we're all of a sudden connecting, Orem, Provo, all the way to Heber. So this is great. This is kind of this is the goal of what the UTN is supposed to achieve. So I don't want to take, I know I've spoken a lot, but there's obviously other projects further south, other notable ones. There's been a very long-standing gap on the Colorado River Trail down in Moab. So this makes the connection. We funded for construction, the last portion of that to connect to Grand Staff Canyon, as well as connecting to Utah Raptor State Park. So that'll be connected as well. And then again, you can see a couple of the others. This is US 89 that got funded for construction from Orderville to Mount Carmel Junction. And then we're looking to see how we could connect Cedar City with Enoch. That's a feasibility study. So go ahead.
I have a question. Can you go back to that Bluffdale connection?
Sorry, say
to
again?
the Jordan River Parkway? The Bluffdale connection at the point?
Yeah. Mhm.
Tell me that, if you don't mind, the status of that again, where it's at?
Yeah, it's actually the city that's working on this crossing over the rail yard. So we're the portion that UDOT is going to jump in on is once that bridge is connected across the rail line, we'll then make the connection to the Jordan River Parkway Trail. I'm told that through the city that they're still about a year out from this bridge over the rail line. So our project won't happen until that bridge is in place, because we obviously don't want to build a trail that would put people onto the rail line without a connection across. So we're coordinating really closely with Bluffdale on this, and as soon as that bridge is under construction, we'll then begin work on this little spur project here.
And so the city's responsible to fund the bridge, but
they had already
UPN's
actually. They had already
Okay.
had the funding for the bridge, but they didn't have the additional funding to bring it all the way to the Jordan River Parkway Trail. So that was where UDOT was able to support.
And that funding's there as soon as the bridge is ready to go. Okay, thank you.
That's correct. Absolutely.
And Steph, if it's all right, I'll just reemphasize, you said this earlier, but all of the other tiered projects, tier 2 and tier 3, didn't get funding, in addition to many tier 1 projects didn't get funded, but they are under consideration for future programming, correct? So
absolutely,
if your community doesn't happen to have a highlighted project at the moment, that doesn't mean it's not considered for future. So there are several places throughout our communities, all the counties, that have projects that were looked at and potential for future programming.
Yeah, so what a great point. So I just turned on tier 2 and tier 3 projects. They're the light blue and the orange. You can see there's a lot of them so they did not receive funding that round, but yes, they'll be considered for future funding, as well as taking everything we heard from these workshops that we just wrapped up around future kind of developing the full network. But really the goal out of this master plan is we will have a map in the same way we have kind of a UDOT highway map, we'll have a UTN map, where I'm actually working with Unified Plan on how we integrate the UTN into that. So that's something that's coming down the road. But think of this as that's then the map that we'll use to program UTN projects off of in the future. There will, of course, be a way to amend that in the future. It's not a static map that is set in stone, but it gives us our North Star, right? Here's what we're trying to build out towards.
Steph, I can't help but jump on the comment that you just made about Utah's Unified Transportation Plan.
Yeah.
For those of you that care about transportation planning, and if you're in this room, or online in this meeting, there's a good chance that you do. The way that we do our planning for transportation in Utah is collaboratively across all of the entities, the stakeholders, the government agencies, the transportation agencies, and multimodally, meaning that it's one of our goals to provide transportation choices to our residents in our communities. And so what Steph just said about coordinating the Utah Trail Network with Utah's Unified Transportation Plan is a big deal, because what we're talking about here is not just riding bikes for fun, but also for transportation purposes. It is fun, but for transportation purposes, so that you can drive on state or local roads if you want to, safely. You can take transit, the train or the bus if you want to, and you can also bike or walk if that's your choice of how you want to get around. And that's the principle behind so much of the work that we do, all of us collectively, and it's embodied in Utah's Unified Transportation Plan. And so the point that Steph is making, I'm just again emphasizing all these things you see on the map, whether you're Box Elder, Weber, Davis, Salt Lake, Morgan, Tooele, Utah, Summit counties, all of these counties have projects in the UTN path ahead. Even if they're not all funded now, you can look in the map and see projects that are anticipated for the future as part of the overall transportation network. That's the sort of broad vision that we have, is to make biking a really viable means of transportation across the entirety of the region and the state.
Yeah, I just do want to put a point on the transportation aspect of UTN. I think we talk a lot about these trails in terms of their recreation benefit, and that's of course important. We have great quality of life in the state of Utah. We really emphasize that. This network, if push comes to shove, we will choose the transportation route, the one that helps people connect to where they need to go within their communities, which is really important. And I think, again, also notable because that's really how we start moving the needle, to Andrew's point on, getting people, providing them those options. So I love that about the UTN. And I think that's really how we're going to start seeing, more and more people make the choice to ride or walk. So thank you so much. And again, UTN, the website, Utah Trail Network, although you can literally just Google it and it'll be the first site for this information. So with that, I'll pass it along.
Thank you. Thanks for that report. That's amazing. I don't know how many states are spending this kind of money on trails, but we are, and it's commendable. It's awesome. Next item is number 5, Transportation and Local Use Connection Program Awards. I'll turn it over to Byron Head. Go ahead, Byron.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. My name is Byron Head. I am a planner in the Community and Economic Development Group here at WFRC. Just going to talk today about our recent round of TLC project awards. You're likely familiar by now, but I'll go ahead and refresh everyone's memory. If my slide will change. There we go. So the TLC program, Transportation and Land Use Connection, is one of our core planning products here, technical assistance to local communities in support of the Wasatch Choice Vision. These are projects that, as the name implies, intersect land use and transportation and also economic development. The goals of the program are to maximize the value of public infrastructure, increase access to opportunities, increase travel options, and to create communities with opportunities to live, work, and play. This is the 12th year of the program, and as of this year, with our 13 new projects, that brings us to 165 throughout the life of the program. And we have about between $1.5 and $2 million of funding to distribute every year. And the application is getting more and more competitive every year, which it's kind of a double-edged sword. We're glad that more people are aware of it, but it is harder and harder to make these decisions every year. And we do this program in partnership with multiple partners, UDOT, UTA, Salt Lake County, and the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget. Why are these slides not advancing? There we go. The projects that we award can range along the spectrum of implementation, from kind of grand visionary plans all the way to more niche and targeted implementation strategies. And as I said, the program continues to get more competitive. So what we're seeing, especially this year, is that the implementation and ordinance kind of projects are becoming more competitive and being more successful. We have a map on our website where you can go to see all of the projects that have been awarded by year and by type. So you can see what your community has been awarded in the past, see what other communities are getting awarded, find ideas for some new projects. And we believe that we've assisted about 88% of the communities in the Wasatch Front region in some way or form through the TLC program through the years. So this year's projects, we awarded 13 projects. As you can see, almost $2 million in total awards, 1.5 million of that coming directly from TLC, and then a little over 400K in local match. There are 3 kind of main categories of awarded projects this year. First is small area plans. So these are mostly for our Wasatch Choice centers. These aren't directly transportation related, but they greatly influence how walkable an area can be. So we have the Beehive Bikeways and the Utah Trail Network to kind of connect between centers, but within the center, what's the built environment like? How wide are the sidewalks? Is there bike parking? Do the buildings address the street? That kind of thing to make the environment more pedestrian and bicyclist friendly. And so, yeah, we're doing projects in Murray, Riverdale, and South Ogden for their city centers this year. Next is our kind of citywide ordinances and plans. We have 7 of those. Again, these are not directly AT related projects, but they do dictate the form of the built environment. And, you know, as a person using the system, it really is important how it feels when you're down there. And one project I will highlight on this list is the Mill Creek ADA transition plan. As budget goes, it's a pretty small fry, but it's very important. This will be an inventory of all the curb ramps in the city. And so if you've ever, you know, had to push a stroller, been on crutches, you know, anyone who's older and maybe has trouble lifting their legs like over cracks in the sidewalk and stuff, this is not just for people with disabilities. This is a project that will benefit everyone in the community. And then our last kind of category here is 3 contextual transportation projects. In Kearns, the 54 South Corridor study, this is a project that will prioritize safer streets, multimodal transportation, improve traffic flow, specifically focus around the Kearns Town Center, again, one of our Wasatch Choice Centers, and also anticipating the 2034 Olympics. The Utah Olympic Oval is there, so anticipating a lot of traffic and trying to improve the environment before, you know, all these people come visit, hopefully not all driving cars. South Davis Greenway feasibility study. This is essentially a feasibility study for a Beehive bikeway connecting from North Salt Lake up into Farmington through Bountiful and Centerville. This is a really great project, both in terms of our, you know, topical interests in biking and walking, but also interlocal collaboration. And then finally, the Municipal Services District Transportation Master Plan. This is for the 6 communities in Salt Lake County served by the MSD as well as unincorporated county. Again, the focus here is going to be on city and town centers, multimodal transportation, and street connectivity. So yeah, that's our project list for this year. I'll just make a plug for the rest of CED's services. You know, if you have any kind of planning need that's not, you know, maybe a natural fit for any of our programs, we'd still love to hear from you and see what we can do to help you out. And the next opening of our TLC program will be in September. It's the same as our STP program, so it should be easy for everyone to remember. But yeah, we hope to hear from you. And does anyone have any questions?
Byron, I'll just note, as one of the stakeholders engaged in that South Davis Greenway feasibility study, which we're really excited about as communities, that we would hope that that might even be a candidate for the Utah Trail Network. I'm just going to be that bold.
It's at Ted. It sounds like you were making that comment, that you momentarily took off your WFRC hat and put on your North Salt Lake City Council member hat.
But I failed to alert everybody to the fact that happened. So
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sure Stephanie's taking notes over there.
We're keeping an eye on you, Ted, just to make sure.
Quick question, Byron. Is it, in the past, the TLC program has funded active transportation plans. Is the goal moving forward, I just saw it called out as like contextual transportation plan. Is the goal to kind of pivot towards more of a focus on that, or would it, are AT plans still eligible?
Yeah, they're still eligible. I'd say the contextual transportation thing is just a function of the projects we got this year, trying to group them together. Yeah. So the credit eligibility and stuff has not changed, but you know, as I said, some things score better than others on the objective criteria that we use. So a project that's closer to implementation will score better than kind of a preliminary plan. And so as we get more competitive, we see more of those implementation focused projects, and things that scored well in the past, like a high level plan, don't score as well comparatively now.
Byron, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit and ask you a question about TLC. And Mayor Mon, if you can hear, I'm actually inspired to ask this question of Byron by a conversation that Mayor Mon and I had a while back about parks and public spaces. Okay, one of the 4 key strategies of the Wasatch Choice vision is to make sure that people have easy access to parks and public spaces, which is in part about trails, but not only about trails. And that parks and public spaces and trails should be woven right into the fabric of our communities. And Mayor Mon and I were talking about challenges that local communities sometimes have about coming up with the plans and the funding for making those a reality in a community. And so my question for you is if a community is looking to design or plan for park space integrated with their broader community and even potentially look at funding or financing strategies to make that happen, is that something that TLC could potentially be helpful, not necessarily to actually fund the project, but to help figure out the path forward for a park or public space project?
Yeah, I would say so. That's something that could definitely be incorporated into a small area plan if you needed a park in a specific location, but also like a citywide kind of assessment of, what are our park acreage per 1,000 people? And what do we need to bump that up, and that kind of holistic look. I would say it would sound similar to like an active transportation plan. So kind of it's definitely an eligible product. And depending on the year and the other applications we receive, would be more or less competitive just based on how close to implementation it is.
Mayor Mon, I guess I'm putting you on the spot too. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I mean, we agree that the planning is a big part of it. We've actually been able to do the planning in our city. We have several parks that are on the books as far as plans. Our challenge really comes with funding. When you're a really rapidly growing community like ours, the infrastructure needs get prioritized over the active spaces. And yet we realize that active spaces are equally important to our citizens and equally important to our quality of life. So what we were talking about is the struggle between how we can identify and understand these things and getting them funded. Because again, when you're a really actively growing community, the funding for things like park impact fees, it just doesn't catch up. It takes years to pull that together, and all of the, when you talk about general funds, it all ends up going to things like need for new water towers or increased pipelines so that you can get water to people, or and it's not just water, but it's also your roads. You get heavy development and your roads deteriorate much faster. These are all things that I'm sure all the mayors have seen as a challenge, but it's just completely different when you've got, we've got park land, we've got park planning. We just don't have funds, and our people are frustrated because, of course, they want more parks and things like that. So what I was talking specifically to Andrew about, and I think that needs to be noted, is, as the state pushes for solving the housing challenges, you can be a community that is a strong supporter of this and building houses faster, but it creates other problems. And one of those problems is things like parks, which don't have their, just don't get priority over infrastructure, just doesn't happen. And that becomes frustrating to residents and city alike. So I would really love to find some way to fund things of actual development of facilities, because again, we've got, in our particular situation, I've got the land, I've got the space, and we could be a regional service, not just to our city, but to a large part of the community. And we talked about this in planning because the transportation obviously needs to be a part of it, but the space itself just can't be funded without the funds that take years to build up.
Mayor Mon, thank you for sharing that. And I wonder, Mayor Walker, as Mayor Mon said, other communities face this challenge as well. I know Draper has confronted this and figuring out how to do your park space and your trails. Mayor Walker, would you be open to having a little dialogue coming out of this discussion with some other stakeholders? I've actually talked with Cameron Deal, the executive director of the Utah League of Cities and Towns, about this a little bit. I've talked with Laura Hansen, who is the state planning coordinator in GOPB, about this a little bit. But to have some further dialogue. And I see Marissa from Tooele County saying Tooele's in the same boat. So Mayor Walker, could we do a little more work on this offline and have it as a further dialogue item as we go forward?
Absolutely. I was listening to him. It reminded me of an old beer commercial. You've got the time, I've got the place. We just need the money.
Yep.
If you guys remember that one. Anyway, sorry. That was a Miller commercial. Sorry. No, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Like we've spent a lot of money, ways what we've decided to prioritize, but I'd be happy to get together and we could sit down and talk about what we've done, how we've approached it. Be great.
And Byron, Hugh is indulging me with my talking about this issue just a little bit. Byron, if we can loop, your team, our community and economic development team in to think about this, that would be a great item to work on as we go forward. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right. That concludes my item. If there are no other questions.
All right. Thank you. Clearly I dated myself with that commercial reference. Item number 6 is next. Brett Garnberg is going to give us an update on the mapping of all of these amazing bicycle infrastructure trails and plans. Go ahead, Brett.
We're good. All right. Good morning, everybody. Bert Granberg with the analytics group here at WFRC. I'm going to talk a little bit about a project that we've got underway with a few partners. And the title of the talk is Coming Soon, bikeways.utah.gov. See if this works. All right. So this project is both a web map to highlight the biking facilities that we have across the state, but it's also a way to true up and keep current our understanding of what's on the ground, essentially mapping the landscape of cycling opportunities. And there's value in that. What can I use now as a rider? And we want to do this in a way that this resource can answer the question from the perspective of a seasoned cyclist, very comfort, maybe clad in Lycra, but also a cautious but interested cyclist who's just getting into bicycling as transportation and recreation. We also see a lot of value, know there's value in understanding the landscape of bicycling in terms of our efforts to plan for the future. So as a city or a regional planner, it's very difficult to do our work without knowing what we're building upon, right? What's already on the ground. That's also true for funders of projects and prioritizers of projects. And also from a standpoint of being a resident and advocating for better facilities nearby. Okay, so one of the goals of this project is to build a set of GIS map layers that keep current our inventory of what biking facilities are on the streets. So cycle tracks, bike lanes, sharrows, things like that, different designations on the roadway, but then also the trails and pathways system. So they're two separate map layers, but from a perspective of a user, I expect that those will be brought together into one resource. So can we feed two birds with one scone? That is the question that we've been pursuing. Number one, we want to keep the bicycle data that's out there in the real world current. We want to add to it as things open up. So you just completed a bike lane in your city or a pathway project. Let's get it on the map right away. Let's not wait several years for it to be discovered. We need it for planning purposes, but then we also want it to be available in a product for basic public use. So if people want to know what facilities they could kind of string together to go for a ride, we want that new facility to be on the map as soon as possible. And that's what bikeways.utah.gov, a website that we're targeting to release in May, in time for Bike Month, mid-May, mid to late May, is all about. So this is a little preview.
Kurt, just to clarify, the map that you're talking about, what the geographic reach of it is where?
It is statewide.
Statewide?
But our focus at
Yes.
WFRC is on the WFRC area and keeping that data current. But the application will
Right.
be statewide. And we've got partners that are interested in keeping their area of the state current.
Okay, great. So MAG is with us, our friends at MAG, and I see MAG and UDOT folks, everybody's nodding their heads. So that's great.
Yep.
Okay.
In particular, UDOT, MAG, Cache MPO, and Dixie MPO are going to be critical stewards of the data in their area. Thank you, Andrew. So this is a preview of what this looks like. It's a web map. It works in a browser. That's the whole point, but it works especially well. It's designed to work well in a browser on a mobile device. So that's why my screenshots look like this. This is what it would look like on a phone. So it's an interactive map. It has the sort of the zoom in, pan controls that you would expect. And then it has this menu at the bottom, which shows you all the different route types that are out there and lets you choose from among those route types. So for example, if you're a cautious user and you want to just see where the paved pathways and protected bike lanes are, you can do that. So that's a nice feature. You could also click on any feature that you want to, and it will tell you the name of the street. And it sort of translates how we store this data in GIS world, what's on the left side and the right side of the street to directional cardinal directions like north side, south side. And it gives us a level of traffic stress and tells us what city the facility is in. So that's kind of cool. But if I scroll down a little bit to that little purple bar that you see at the bottom, oops, not that bar. There's the option to provide feedback. So if someone can put in their email, they can give us a little bit of feedback. This is going to be particularly helpful in maintaining the data. Hey, this is not a bike lane anymore. It's now a cycle track, or you're missing something here. Like there's a bike lane that just got added. So we can use the application to communicate data edits to make to the map layers. So this is, I'm a biker at gmail.com wrote, this route just got upgraded to a grade separated pathway. Yay. That would get emailed to the people who are maintaining the data, and they can make that change right away. You can't see this in my slide deck, but if you click, right, have a little, if I click the route types toggle, the map switches from a route types display to a traffic stress display. So this is level of traffic stress. This is a common concept that's used to evaluate the network. And similarly, it has the ability to turn on and off layers. We've also included the pedestrian crossing signals and the traffic lights from the UDOT data sets that are published.
So Bert, dumb question, but so the level of traffic stress is the combination both of how much traffic, the speed of it, but also the quality of the facility on it. So if it has a safe, let's say protected facility, even if the traffic is heavy and fast, it would show the benefit of that facility. Am I right on that?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So similarly, we can sort of select what levels of traffic stress we want to focus in on, and the map will get redrawn. Okay, so those are the two primary views of this Bikeways application. And I'm just going to go through the features just in case you didn't make your own inventory of what's built into this app. There's layer control for both route type and level of stress. It's a mobile first design. It works with your device's built-in GPS location services. So it shows you if you choose the blue dot on the map and can zoom to your location. It has a mechanism for anyone, whether they're a user or maybe it's a parks coordinator who knows that a new facility has been built, to go in and tell the map, make a comment about a change that needs to happen to the data set. This enables quick update turnarounds. The data set is, of course, seamless across the entire state. And the data that we're presenting and enabling the update and upkeep with this app is something that people can download and use in their own analysis and mapping. A little bit of a slide here to close for credits. We're working with the State GIS Coordination Office, UGRC, to create this custom app, host it, and host the data. And then I mentioned earlier the data upkeep partners. WFRC, we're just completing an update using the latest late summer 2024 aerial photography. MAG has updated their area similarly in 2023. So those two represent a great baseline to start the app with. Forthcoming updates expected elsewhere in the state. And then through Hue, we're reaching out to all the cities in the WFRC area at least once a year to see if they have active transportation data that they can share. So if they're keeping their own bike data, we want to be in the habit of connecting with them, grabbing their latest data, making sure that we can integrate it into this region-wide view. And then we'll also plan to do, similar to what we're doing now, a major review of the bike facilities every time a new aerial photography layer comes out for the region. All right, I'll stop there, say thank you and see if there are any questions. Again, we're hoping to release this a little bit more than a month from now.
Thank you.
Can you just very quickly, can you tell us how this will be rolled out? How will the general public become aware that this tool is available for use?
Good question. We're meeting this week to sort of plan that out. So we know that we'll make the first announcement through the WFRC newsletter. But there's, there's more to sort of the outreach effort than that. But I think we're open to ideas, but we're also going to do our own sort of brainstorming on how to let people know this is there. And one thing that I'll point out, I didn't put this in the slide deck. We tried very hard not to duplicate efforts that are already out there. Google does a fairly good job of doing like point-to-point directions, but not a very good job of showing you the landscape of possibilities. So if you're going A to B, an app like Google's route finding is great. We tried intentionally not to duplicate that into this app. This is more of a, hey, what's out there? Through sort of a secondary purpose, help us to keep the data current. We've struggled with keeping the AT data current. It's a lot easier to go out and build some of these facilities, especially with paint. So they happen a lot often, and there isn't a mechanism that people relate to like help tell the world that the changes have been made. And we're hoping that this product really energizes people's connection and willingness to share information about changes that have happened to the network.
Becca, I believe your hand is up.
Yes, this is Becca Rowe from Salt Lake City Transportation, and I just wanted to give a shout out and express my appreciation to Bert, Hugh, and the WFRC team for making this, and all the other partners for making this come into fruition. A number of years ago, Salt Lake City was publishing our own bike map. And then at some point, we heard a lot of requests from members of the public when we would hand it out. They said, we really want this for the whole county. And so we partnered with the county and other municipalities, and we put out a county map. And a few years ago, we made the decision to stop doing that effort as it was starting to become more regional in nature than was appropriate for just one city to kind of really lead on. And so I'm really appreciative and grateful that WFRC has stepped up and produced such a stellar project. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing where this goes.
Thanks, Becca.
Bert, this is really cool, and it's kind of a democratized effort, right? It's sort of giving users the opportunity to provide some feedback, but there's also not really a natural one entity to disseminate this product. And it's sort of with that preliminary that I'd recommend to the committee, if you're willing, just also let your community or your entity or your audience know about this. And we can package at WFRC a short little, hey, introduction to this product. And then perhaps it's something that we as a ATC committee can think about, well, how do I spread the word about this? And that we kind of own it as a committee.
I'll add, we have posted for the areas outside of the MPO for the state. We've posted this on the Move Utah website, so we'll be packaging some media statewide for that as well.
I just also, this is so exciting, and just for everyone in the room, like how important this is. I mean, Bert said it really well, but just to say it again, like we've gone through this. We do outreach all the time for active transportation, and just most recently, at least from the UDOT standpoint, was this for the Utah Trail Network. And such a massive part of that effort was just going in and confirming what was on the ground. And then even then we got it wrong so often. And we were told that by you all, right? Like our constituents, like, hey, there's actually a trail here. But just to democratize, I like that word in this context, Ted, because it really is like, we don't, at WFRC, we're not going to know exactly where everything goes, is put in. At UDOT, we're not going to know. So just to open this up and make it available, I guess would encourage and empower everyone when this goes live to really utilize it, because I think it's only as good as all of us that are saying, hey, we're committed to this and we really do want to understand where active transportation facilities are. I think what WFRC has done here is revolutionized it by making it really easy. So I'm excited about that, but just to keep saying like this, it's going to take all of us, and emphasizing that this is important, both for, locally and at the state level. So yeah, it's exciting, and I look forward to seeing how it goes.
All right, well, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions on item 6? All right, that takes us to the item number 7, which I know is why everyone is here today. And that is the update and legislative summary from the fine 2025 legislative session that we just endured. I think that's a fair statement.
That's always a fair statement, Mayor, indeed.
Yes, endured. All right, Miranda, tell us all of the good news.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, I'll be fairly brief. There's obviously so much that happens during the legislative session, and I'll kind of tailor my comments here related to active transportation. But I did want to note on your guys' tables, and hopefully someone can drop it in the chat. If not, I will when I'm done here, is our kind of like a legislative summary postcard that highlights some of the key appropriations, key pieces of legislation that we thought were impactful or notable from this previous session. So feel free to take a look at that just to get a broader sense of some of the issues we were tracking. On our website, we also have our bill tracker and appropriations tracker. There's a lot of resources. You can find that on that QR code here to really dig into things if you're still wondering what happened. It's been almost a month. It has been a month now since the session adjourned. And so we're just finally wrapping up what happened, and then now looking ahead to the interim period where the legislature meets monthly throughout the summer and the rest of the year prior to the next session. So I'm going to highlight a few key bills that are notable in the active transportation space. So first of all, and this one is we're just going to hit this one first, and I think many of us here might be aware of this bill or knew about it. So SB 195. This is a transportation omnibus, if you will, by Senator Harper, meaning that it has a number of provisions related to various transportation issues included in it. I'm going to hit 2 of them, one here and then another one on connectivity planning. But there is this specific requirement or prohibition, I guess you could say, for Salt Lake City from proceeding on highway reduction strategies unless approved by the Utah Department of Transportation in a mobility plan. In the bill, it notes that highway reduction strategies means having the potential to permanently decrease the number of vehicles, reducing lanes, or narrowing existing lanes. The bill narrowly kind of defines where this mobility plan study area will be and requires additional feedback from other partners, the business community, commuters, residents, etc. And then requires Salt Lake City to do additional reporting on this mobility planning effort to the legislature. And this was fairly controversial during the session that got a lot of attention. And I actually have Angela Price from Salt Lake City. I think she's on the call, and wanted to give her just a few minutes to kind of talk about maybe the process, what happened exactly, and then what the city's going to do moving forward. And I think I'll just add with this provision specifically, you know, at WFRC, one of the things that we want to ensure that Salt Lake City and the rest of our communities can continue to do as we do transportation planning is ensure that communities can choose what roadway strategies meet the needs of their communities and that they have the ability to do that planning. So Angela, I don't know if you're on and are willing to just share a little bit about what Salt Lake City's perspective is on this, and then moving forward kind of what the plans are.
Yeah, thank you, Miranda. I appreciate some time on the agenda this morning. It's so good to see WFRC friends here that I haven't seen for a while. And I just want to offer a moment of gratitude both to WFRC. Andrew and Miranda are, as you all know, just shining stars up at the Capitol. They do such great work. And so we really appreciate their partnership, and also want to extend our gratitude to UDOT. Carlos and his team have been just really wonderful to work with on SB 195. I could talk a little bit kind of about the politics of where this bill started and where it ended. And I think Miranda did a great job of summarizing it. I'll kind of start where the bill initially, kind of how this all unfolded for the city. We found out, I don't know, an hour or so before the bill was subbed on the floor that there was going to be a provision added to the omnibus transportation bill that would prohibit, it would essentially put a moratorium on all highway reduction strategy projects within the city for a year. And the bill, as you know, Senator Harper was the Senate sponsor and Representative Christopherson was the House sponsor. The bill was on third reading calendar, so it had already moved across the floor of the Senate twice and was introduced. This language was added, and a vote happened within maybe a minute of the bill being introduced on the floor. The Salt Lake Democrats, or I guess the Salt Lake delegation, expressed quite a bit of concern because they didn't know this is, I don't know what, 4,000 page bill. They were not aware that this additional language had been added to the bill. And so they were working to get their votes recalled on the bill as it moved into the House. We immediately mobilized a team of people to work towards what an alternative strategy could be other than a moratorium. Obviously, that would have a huge impact on, you know, I think it was about 15 or so projects within the city that would meet that definition. It would impact federal funding. It would impact state funding. It would impact city funding. It would impact the construction crews that are already working on projects. And so we were really concerned about just the impact that this would have, but also the precedent that it would set. We're really grateful for Senator Harper and Representative Christopherson. We met with them and WFRC, the Utah League of Cities and Towns, and then UDOT. We all met, I think, the day after the sub was in there, the sub passed the Senate, to talk through what the city's concerns were and how we can move forward to address the concerns that were brought to the legislature of traffic flow downtown and throughout the city, but how some of our highway reduction strategies are impacting state roads. And so we have an excellent partnership with UDOT, and so we welcomed an additional opportunity to work with them. When the bill moved to the House, it was again subbed on the floor. We had negotiated some terms with the bill sponsors. The bill was subbed again on the House floor that rescinded a bit of those negotiations. And so then when it went back to the Senate, it went into a conference committee, which means that 3 members from each chamber come together and they negotiate the difference between the 2 subs. And so where we landed on this bill versus where we started is a much better place. I kind of like to think of it in a couple different phases. So the first is if a project was advertised on or before February 25th, it can proceed. And initially it said awarded. So we were really grateful that was able to be changed to advertised. So it really freed up a lot of projects to move forward. If a project received state funding before July 1st, 24, but had not been advertised, it could move forward. So those 2 parameters freed up quite a bit of our projects that we were concerned about. And then if it didn't meet those 2 exclusions, then it has to go through this process with UDOT of seeking a mobility plan, and UDOT has 60 days to review those plans and allow us to proceed on those projects. That obviously adds additional time onto our projects and an additional review layer with UDOT. But our team, our transportation division, I see Becca's on the call here, does such a profound amount of work before we even do any of these projects that I don't know that we're super concerned about that. Yes, it stalls us out potentially for a little while, but we know that we do these very robust engagement processes with various stakeholders. So that isn't going to stall us hopefully too much on these projects. And then it also, and then this is, as Miranda said, limited to the study area. So it's a very specific part of the city east of I-15, 600 north down to 2100 south, and then Foothill. And then it also requires UDOT to do within the study area a mobility and environmental impact analysis of all highway reduction strategy projects within the city from 2015 to 2034. So we're going back in time and then looking out to the Olympics of all projects that the city has either done or is planning to do that would meet this definition of highway reduction strategy. Lastly, one of the other big wins that we got here is we got a sunset date on the mobility plan review of 2 years. So if we are working in close coordination with UDOT and the business community and others who are concerned about highway reduction strategies within the city, then there's an opportunity for the Transportation Interim Committee to remove the need for those 2-year studies. Or I'm sorry, for the mobility plan in that 2-month UDOT review. I know the city has, before the session even ended, John Larson and his team had already started thinking through what projects, we were analyzing project impacts during our negotiations, but how we can move forward projects and how we can work closely with UDOT. And I know UDOT is working on developing the process both for the mobility and environmental impact analysis, and then also to submit our projects to them. So there'll be lots to happen here as we, are only a few weeks out of the session ending. But again, just want to thank WFRC for your help on this. Mayor Walker, I know you and Mayor Ramsey were willing to step in and help us as well. I do think from a political perspective, of course, our concerns, not just for the city, but I think for this group in general, is the preemption of a city's ability to do what our residents are asking us to do. The number one complaint we hear in the city is regarding roads and road safety. And we had over 20 deaths in 2023 on our roads. I think it was 25 or 26 deaths. And so our residents want to see more traffic reduction measures and ways that everybody can move around the city, whether you're in a car, on a bike, or by foot. So we are excited to be able to move forward with these projects. And I just want to also give one last shout out to our team who won Project of the Year for their work on highway reduction strategies on 200 South. If you haven't seen it, it's a pretty cool project with a dedicated bus route up to the U and some really great bike protection areas. So again, thank you so much for the time. Thank you to WFRC and to the bill sponsors for your work on this bill with us.
Thanks, Angela. Appreciate that. Yeah, if maybe we'll move on, and if anybody has any specific questions, I'm sure we could discuss. But like Angela said, I think we ended in a much better place on that bill than where it initially started. I'll jam through. Oh, yes.
Miranda, could I just add a little bit on the implementation side?
Sure, Becca.
Yeah.
Maybe just a few moments. I know we are running short on time.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
Oh, I feel free to go ahead. I just said we'll just be brief.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, I misunderstood. Yeah, I just wanted to say briefly, you know, people may be wondering what the heck is a highway reduction strategy, as that is not something that is a standard term in the transportation realm. And so just to provide a couple examples, a highway reduction strategy could include something like just a simple repainting and striping of, we have many roadways that are 4-lane roads, meaning 4 lanes of motor vehicle traffic. And it's a very common thing to do a lane reconfiguration, sometimes called a road diet, where you take that 4-lane road and turn it into 3 lanes, a 1 lane in each direction, a center turn lane, and bike lanes on the side. That improves safety for all modes. And that is a prime example of what would be under this bill considered a highway reduction strategy. So adding capacity for bikes does not translate to, although in transportation terms, it does increase capacity. But under this bill, it would be considered a highway reduction strategy. From the city perspective, we're working through, with no funding, extra funding allocated to allow us to do this. We are working through a scope of work, tapping our on-call consultant pool, and we have identified all of the projects that would be relevant on city arterials and collectors for the next 5 years. It is a pretty quick turnaround on this study that we have until October to tell about our next 5 years of work. And so, you know, our primary focus has been and continues to be safety. And many of these quote unquote highway reduction strategies are actually safety related projects. And so that's basically what I had to say as far as what we are doing moving forward. And I did want to say as well that the advocacy community was very helpful in terms of just keeping a little bit of a background drumbeat going of concern about this bill.
Perfect. Thank you, Becca.
Thank you.
Really quickly, a few other things. In that same bill, there was a requirement for communities to do enhanced connectivity planning. Initially, the bill was requiring to make connections over canals, water conveyances. The bill in its final form changed so that municipalities, in conjunction with their MPOs in an MPO area, updates the traffic element of general plans to identify priority connections for physical impediments or water conveyances. So we're in the process of figuring out exactly what that coordinated effort looks like with our municipalities. So this could be road connectivity, it could be trails. You'll see here it says that the priority connection should enhance vehicle, transit, bike, and pedestrian access to significant economic, recreational, educational, and other priority destinations. So really, we're maybe, I don't know if excited is the right word, right? A mandate is never like really exciting, but this is a great opportunity for us to spend some time with our communities to identify where some of these priority connections our communities are. A few other bills, and I just want to note, Bike Utah. I don't know if anyone on the call is from Bike Utah is here. I didn't see anyone earlier, but I will note they really did an excellent job this legislative session at working with some legislators to run some active transportation related legislation. And so big kudos to Bike Utah. One of their bills that they worked with Representative Manga on is HB 290 bike lane safety amendments. This defines bike lane in state statute and adds a moving violation for driving within a designated bike lane or obstructing a designated bike lane. There's certain exceptions for that, like, you know, emergency vehicles, etc. But overall, we see this bill has the opportunity to improve biking safety for those who choose to use those bike facilities. There was also a citation on connecting communities. A citation isn't a bill per se. It's more as a statement that the legislature is supportive of. What this citation mentioned was recognizing state and federal multimodal transportation investments and land use policies, connecting transportation and land use, and then further urge state leaders and other partners to continue to integrate transportation and land use policies. That was Representative Andrew Lubay. And then lastly, this was a bill, another one from Bike Utah. Unfortunately, it did not pass. This was a bicycle rack amendment bill that would create a state grant program through the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity to support cities installing public bike racks, which would benefit businesses, public spaces, etc. So there wasn't a lot of funding available this year. That, you know, could be one of the reasons why this one didn't get very far. It also was introduced fairly late in the session, so we'll see if this one comes back in a subsequent legislative session. So with that, it was a, you know, somewhat lighter year on active transportation related issues this session, but overall, I think we ended in a positive place with some of these bills. So Mayor Walker, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Miranda. Excellent report. And I do want to say, you know, being league president this year, I did spend a lot of time at the legislature, a lot more than I hoped. But, you know, SB 195, those bills were a big deal to us as a league president, because we you know, the preemption is the issue. And we know these bike infrastructures and some of these active transportation things are what make our communities awesome, and we like them. And you know, we just need to make sure we're, you know, using the right phraseology and making sure our legislative leaders understand how valuable they really are. Hugh, do you want to quickly tell us about the trip we're doing to go look at this very thing in the city that's had 0 bike deaths? I think you told me in like a decade or something, or 0 pedestrian deaths in a decade.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So this is one of our mobile active transportation tours we try and do every so often to places out of state. And this year, there'll be a group traveling to Hoboken and Jersey City, New Jersey, where those two cities have had not just no deaths on the pedestrian and bicycle side, but 0 traffic deaths. So everybody, you know, moving through their cities in the last decade or so. And so we're going to learn about those safety techniques and planning and implementation that Beck was referencing, right, and how to make our cities safer for people to move through them. So we'll definitely be bringing back a report in our next Active Transportation Committee meeting about that trip and lessons learned. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, again, it's somewhat ironic that we're going to New Jersey to look at some of the things we're trying to do in the capital city, but you know, hey, the ironies are part of the fun, right? So, but we'll definitely report back to all of you on what we learn and gain there. But again, thank you. Is there any other business that anyone wants to bring up or talk about prior to our next item, which is adjournment? We will be very close to Gruber's old stomping grounds at our trip at the end of the month. So
And
are you going,
just-
Andrew, on that trip?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I love going back to the East Coast, and I have not spent a lot of time in New Jersey, to be perfectly honest. So we shall see.
Well, we could hop a ferry and you could show us your old stomping grounds. So anyway, all right, if there's nothing else to bring, again, I
Mayor,
just
maybe I
want
can
to,
just ask one question, sorry, and any other bike month activities that folks are planning that they'd like to mention in today's meeting? Maybe I shouldn't have asked. It's kind of depressing. No, there's nothing happening. Okay, well, let us know and we'll be happy to promote that with you and participate where we can.
and again, if you don't have anything planned in your cities, I know everybody's busy, but please come and participate in the Golden Spoke. That can be your event. You could just advertise on your city pages that we're doing the Golden Spoke to commemorate Bike Month. It'd be a great way to get started. It's really fun. You'll enjoy it. We look forward to seeing as many of you there as we can and ride as much or as far as you want. So other than that, our next meeting
Mayor,
is
I only
June.
have one. I just, this is not my report to give, but I'll just share that West Jordan Mayor Dirk Burton, who I think holds the title of Utah's biking mayor because he bikes all over the place. Mayor Walker is Utah's mountain biking mayor, but Mayor Burton is Utah's biking mayor. So the League of Cities and Towns has their annual spring conference in St. George next week. Mayor Burton has already departed from West Jordan and is riding his bike down there, and he's taking a scenic, somewhat circuitous route and reporting along the way. So if you don't follow Mayor Burton on social media yet, you can follow him and cheer him on as he's riding his bike down to St. George over the course of a week or so.
And I might add, he doesn't actually ride the bike I would ride for that ride either. So hats off to him. It's a more difficult bike to operate than the one I would use. But yes, Mayor Burton is our favorite biking mayor, to be sure. So next meeting is June 10th, 2025. So we'll look forward to seeing you then. If not, at Golden Spoke on May 10th, starting at the Tracy Aviary in Salt Lake City on the Jordan River Trail. Hope to see you all then. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
This is.
Thank
Joy.
you,
I'll
Mayor. We have a
second it.
second.
Yeah, this is Joy. I'll second it.
All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Walker. Thank you, everybody.
Dude.
Martin Benny, Centaurus Financial. Please leave a short message and I will return your call as quickly as I possibly can.